So they really thought we wasn't paying attention, huh? This man, the president of the United States, just stood in front of a crowd and told NATO to go to hell on purpose with a smile on his face. And that crowd cheered. They actually cheered. I need y'all to watch this clip. Watch it carefully. Not because of what he says. You already know what he's going to say. Watch the crowd. Watch what they cheer for, and then come back to me, because I got some things to tell you that your grandchildren are going to be reading about in history books.
And now that the harmless straight situation is almost over, I received a call from NATO asking if we would like some help. Thank you very much, NATO. And I told them I would have liked your help 2 months ago, but now I really don't want your help anymore. Because they were absolutely useless when we needed them. But actually, we never needed them. They needed us. They need us. They need us so badly. With the help of everyone here today, this has been by far the most successful first year of any administration in the history of our country, acknowledged by everybody. To begin with, I ended 8 wars, and it may be a little early to say this, but if we add Iran and Lebanon, that will be 10 wars ended and many, many millions of lives saved. Think of how many lives we've saved.
Man. I'm going to say this slow because I need everybody to hear it. What you just watched was not a politician being bold. What you just watched was not strength. What you just watched was a man, possibly in his last term in office, burning down a 75-year partnership that kept this country and this world from a third world war on purpose, in front of applause. Let me put this in context for folks who might not know the full history, because this ain't just politics. This is about something deeper than politics. NATO was created in 1949, after 2 world wars, after 60 to 80 million people died in 30 years, after Europe was ash, after America sent its sons, black sons, white sons, poor sons, rich sons, to die on foreign soil so that we could build something that said, never again. We will stand together. We will protect each other. An attack on one is an attack on all. That's the deal. That's been the deal for 75 years. And this man just told that deal in front of a crowd that was booing NATO, that they're useless, that they can take their help and keep it. I'm 63 years old. I remember the Cold War. I remember what it was like to know that NATO stood between us and Soviet tanks rolling across Europe. I remember when that mattered. I remember when keeping our alliances strong wasn't a debate. It was just what you did if you wanted to keep the peace. But here's what this man apparently does not understand. Or maybe he does understand it, and that's even more frightening. If America walks away from NATO, if we keep humiliating our allies, keep calling them useless, keep showing the world that our word means nothing, every single country in that alliance starts asking themselves a question. And that question is, if America ain't got our back, who does? And you know who's sitting right there with an answer? China and Russia. You know who's been waiting for this exact moment? For the moment when Europe looks west and sees nothing there? Beijing and Moscow have been building toward this for decades, and we are handing it to them on a golden plate. Let that marinate for a second. You want to know what happens when Europe pivots east? Your trade deals change. Your supply chains change. The technology that flows into and out of this country changes. The alliances that protect American interests in Africa, in Asia, in the Pacific, all of that changes. Because this is not just about NATO defending Europe. NATO is the architecture that holds the entire Western international order together. And that order, messed up as it is, has kept us from a level of global conflict that makes the Iran war look like a Tuesday. Now I need y'all to understand something about this man's logic, because he gave you the logic right there in that clip. He said, and I want you to really hear this, he said it's like a politician. When someone tries to donate to your campaign after you already won, you tell them their money doesn't count. That's his analogy for NATO. That's genuinely how he sees it. Loyalty ain't a principle, it's a transaction. And if you weren't useful to him at the specific moment he needed you, then you're done. You're out. Doesn't matter what you've done before. Doesn't matter that Germany, France, the United Kingdom, these countries have sent their troops alongside American troops in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Kosovo, in every conflict of the last 30 years. Doesn't matter. The transaction window closed. Now get out. That right there, that is not how you lead the free world. That's how you lose the free world. And here's what really gets me. Here's what keeps me up at night thinking about this. This man probably ain't gonna be president much longer. One more term at best, and that's if everything goes his way. He'll be gone. But what he's breaking right now, that don't heal in 4 years. That don't heal in 8 years. See, I'm old enough to know that trust, real trust between nations, takes generations to build. It took us decades after World War II to build the kind of relationship where Germany and France would follow America's lead, where the whole European continent would say, all right, we'll do it your way. That took Marshall Plans. That took diplomacy. That took American blood and American treasure and American credibility. You can destroy credibility in one speech, in front of one cheering crowd. And now I gotta ask the question that nobody on that stage was asking. Why is he doing this? What is the actual strategic goal here? Because here's what I noticed. You know who Trump didn't insult in that speech? Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. He thanked them. He praised Pakistan. He talked about how great they all are. The Gulf states, the ones with the oil money, the ones he's been doing business with for decades. They're amazing. They're terrific. They show courage. But NATO, useless. You know what the difference is between NATO and the Gulf states? NATO don't need anything from Trump personally. NATO ain't got a golf course deal pending. NATO ain't been buying properties or sending sovereign wealth funds into his business. And the Gulf states? Well, I'll just let y'all sit with that for a minute. But more than that, more than any personal business, there's Israel. Let's be honest about what this war was. This Iran war was fought largely in service of Israel's security objectives. And NATO, particularly France, Germany, the United Kingdom, they were not on board. They questioned the legality. They questioned the proportionality. They pushed back. And Trump doesn't like pushback from partners who ain't going to give him anything in return. So here we are, a whole war fought, European partners frozen out, NATO publicly humiliated, and China and Russia sitting back, watching the Western alliance fracture, not because of anything they did, but because the President of the United States did it for them, for free. You couldn't make this up. If you wrote this as a thriller novel, your editor would send it back. They'd say it's too unrealistic. No American president would willingly hand this kind of strategic gift to their adversaries. And yet, here we are. I want y'all to do something with me right now. Close your eyes. Imagine Barack Obama stood at a rally and called NATO useless. Imagine a crowd booing our closest allies. Imagine Obama saying, I told them I don't want your help anymore. Imagine him comparing our most important military alliance to a campaign contribution that came in too late. Man, Fox News would have run that clip every hour for 6 months. Lindsey Graham would have called it treason. Someone would have filed articles of impeachment before the weekend. They would have said, and they would have been right, that the president is unilaterally dismantling American national security. But when he does it, it's strength. It's America first. It's the crowd going wild. That's not a political observation, y'all. That's a national security crisis wrapped in a campaign rally. Listen, I know how this sounds. I know some of y'all are gonna say, Curtis, NATO countries don't spend enough on defense. And you know what? That's fair. That's a legitimate criticism that's been made for decades by Democrat presidents and Republican presidents. That's a real conversation to have. But there's a difference, a massive difference, between saying to your allies, listen, y'all need to step up your defense spending, we can't carry this load alone, and standing in front of a crowd, letting them boo your allies, and then publicly telling the alliance that kept the peace for 75 years that you don't want their help. One of those is how you lead an alliance. The other is how you destroy one. And what does this actually mean for folks like us? For the family in Ohio who's got a kid stationed in Germany. For the businesses that depend on stable European markets. For every American whose retirement account is connected to global economic stability. It means more uncertainty, more instability, potentially higher prices as global supply chains realign away from Western partnerships. It means we are one bad miscalculation away from a world where America is genuinely alone. Not the kind of alone that sounds strong at a rally, but the kind of alone where your enemies are coordinated and your friends have moved on. That's the world this speech is building. This man is not going to be president forever. This man, one way or another, will be gone. History will render its verdict on what he did. But the damage he's doing right now to the architecture of American power, that's going to outlast him. That's going to be his actual legacy. Not the rallies, not the cheering crowds, the quiet moment when America's allies stopped believing we were a country that keeps its word. And if you ain't ringing the alarm about that, if you ain't treating this like the emergency it is, then I don't know what to tell you. Subscribe to this channel. Because they counting on you not seeing the big picture. They counting on you getting distracted by the noise and missing the actual story. The actual story is this. We are watching in real time the dismantling of the post-World War II international order that America built with blood and treasure and sacrifice. And the man doing the dismantling is getting a standing ovation. That's Straight Talk. I'm Curtis Banks. And I ain't done talking, not by a long shot.